Recorded. So welcome to the RE Implementation Lab on Courage. There we go. So the challenges that are foreseen or that you experienced relating to the packet on courage. So each person, please tell us your thoughts, if you have any thoughts about what's going to be happening in your congregation about courage. What kinds of challenges do you have? And since all of our screens are different, I will just call on people if you're comfortable doing that. So Lenny, you want to start, and I will time for you. Do you have any challenges, thoughts?
Well, there are 5 Sundays, so I should fill all 5. The main challenges that I'm running into is the simple fact that there is a lot of stuff going on in October. I do work with a couple of other places, and everybody's got a Halloween party thing, and then we've got all the RE items, and we do a family fun night every month. So just fitting everything in without making myself crazy is been a bit of a challenge in of itself. But other than that, I'm really excited about the theme of courage. I find it to be a really fun one to work with, especially this time of year. Mm-hmm. So I'm more excited, and that excitement has kind of kept me, I think, from seeing a lot of challenge other than the strictly logistical ones. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. You're fast and you are done, so I'm going to stop it. And thank you. So what we're going to do is all present our challenges. You have a minute or two to present on anything that's happening, and then we will come up with insights, reflections, and possibly solutions for each other. Next on my screen is Leah. Leah, want to visit with us? And Lenny is going to take care of timing.
Great. So I'm from a mid-sized, large congregation, and one of our challenges, as Lenny was saying, is the calendar is really wacky because we have, in the U.S., we have Columbus Day weekend, which is problematic for many reasons, but that's how we celebrate it in New York State. And also, my congregation does a congregation-wide retreat at a retreat center. But not everybody goes because it's not accessible to everyone. Mm-hmm. And so last year I tried having an RE program on top of, most people being away, or a lot of people being away, and most of my RE volunteers were away. So I really struggled to put on a pared down program. So this year I decided brilliantly that I would lead a multi-generational service, not about a holiday on that day, which we have not done. And the minister's going to be away, so it's going to be me and the music director. And then the call came out about doing a second teach-in, so I decided I would do a multi-generational teach-in. So that is my challenge. My thought was to do something for the children, and everybody else would appreciate it, because it'd be fun and easily accessible. Just haven't figured out what that is. And I have not been able to find the resources other than the ones that came out earlier. I don't know if there are more resources that are coming out from Black Lives UU. Yeah, so there's that. We're not doing a Halloween party this year. And my other challenge is that for our family chapel, which is a once a month thing, I would like to do the blessing of the backpacks, and I'm trying to relate that to courage as well. So that's it for me.
Whew. Thank you, Leah. Next on my screen is Ginger and Veronica.
I had to unmute us. So one of the things that really struck me as being somewhat problematic in teaching curriculum about courage for our congregation is that the youth in our congregation usually come from Moscow, and we're a pretty small, sheltered town that doesn't necessarily have as much diversity as other liberal towns. And so as someone, I'm local and I grew up in Moscow, and so there are a lot of aspects of courage and the curriculum that is presented that I think a lot of our youth may not necessarily understand fully, which I think is a really wonderful opportunity for them to get some sense, an idea of these different demographics, so that they're able to be more courageous in standing up for others and understanding a lot of the issues that are going on in our society right now. But I think it will be really interesting to see how they handle discussing those things and trying to relate them to their own lives.
Mhm.
That sounds good from both of us, since we're on a time limit.
Lovely. Thank you, Ginger and Veronica. Lovely. Next on my screen is Emmy.
I'm my challenge is integrating Soul Matters and all the wealth and depth of information into a new format that I'm starting up. So mine at this point, mine is all logistics, and I'm listening to everyone else's challenges, going, yeah, but I can't deal with those right now.
Yeah.
So and being here in this implementation lab is I'm with, I think it was Julie that says she's sort of lurking. We started using Soul Matters, sort of dipped our toe in the water last year, and I used it as much as I could, but there wasn't as much RE stuff because we picked and chose our themes. We didn't go with the flow, and this year we chose to go with the Soul Matters flow, and I'm so happy. I have a theme team, and we're working together. We meet the month before to figure out what we're doing the month coming up. And so these implementation labs are perfectly timed, and I'm going to get them to start coming to them too. But I'm still in the implementation challenge. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Emmy.
Sure.
I'm sure there's other people in your position. I'm positive. Next is Karina.
Hello, I am new to Soul Matters, and I'm actually not going to be implementing until January, so I really wanted to just listen and learn today. I will definitely come to the brainstorming session for the January theme, but yes, we're starting with offering Soul Matters to small groups this month, but we won't be implementing in RE and worship until January, so I just wanted to see and hear how people do things.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thanks.
Very appropriate to be here and just learn. And Kathleen, you're next on my screen. Kathleen, we need to unmute yourself. There you go.
I was trying to keep the traffic quiet.
Thank you.
So this is my first time. I used Soul Matters for our small group ministries for adults over the past year, and so that went really well. It was really great to have our small group facilitators be able to go there themselves and pull the resources out that they needed and the ones that spoke to them to create their small group ministry packets. So that was really, really good. And so I thought that maybe this year, along with just using the themes themselves in our RE classes, that for our second service, religious education programming, all of our children are together, so of all ages. And so I suspect that there will be a challenge of pulling the resources out from the different age groups to put them together to fit the one age group, or the one large age group. So that would be preschool through pretty much middle school. So that might be a challenge.
Might be. I mean, yeah, you know. Great, Kathleen, good challenge to bring up preschool through 8th. Yep. Great. Thank you for sharing. Hattie, we're doing great on time. Lenny, I keep calling you Hattie. Is that I'm sorry. Okay, Bob, you're the next on my list.
All right. My biggest challenge right now is logistics. And I have a specific challenge in working with our youth. We just started a Sunday morning high school youth session. And in that, they are taking some leadership. The youth themselves are taking some leadership in their program on Sunday morning. And one of the things that we've invited them to do is to think about what the issues of their lives are, and have some in-depth discussion, primarily youth-led, around what those are, with adults helping them, coaching them ahead of time to make sure that we have a good, healthy conversation. And the challenge is that we're totally new to Soul Matters, and therefore none of the teachers, none of the youth, and frankly, I am not fully in touch with what this cycle is like. And so I'm bringing in this material, and I want to be able to share it without coming across as, by the way, you have to do this, because they've got some energy going there, and I want to keep that energy alive. So I'm looking for a way to make sure that they have those resources, but aren't feeling like they're being dumped on them.
Excellent challenge to bring. Great. Thank you, Bob. Next on my list is Dee Hufford.
That's Dorothy. So
Dorothy, welcome.
We are new to Soul Matters. Started this month, actually, at the beginning of the month. And we are a small, very small congregation of people in the middle of Trump land and arch conservatism in Western Pennsylvania. And so most of our congregation is older. We have some younger families. So part of the challenge is really getting those children to come on a regular basis, so that we have some kind of an impact. So I'm actually the chair of the program worship committee, and have my fingers in all of this. All of the people from the RE department, from who's the person who's doing RE, the person who will be doing small groups, and myself, who puts the Sunday morning things together, are all on that committee. And so I thought I would join to see some of the challenges of this particular religious education piece, because I'm trying to incorporate a lot of that also in Sunday morning as well. For Courage, we were able to get, we're a very non-diverse group of people in this area, and it's very difficult to expose people to some more diversity. And so we have a group of Native Americans that are coming into our service this time to explain what kinds of things we draw from that group and how their people have worked with Courage. We're doing the African American professor is coming in to talk about African American music and how it gave slaves and people who have been enslaved courage. So we're trying to, we also have someone from our congregation who is doing a thing on Sunday morning on the courage it takes to be in recovery from addiction. And so we're trying to incorporate some things that will carry over to the religious education piece of it and the small group part as well. And my job, I think, is trying to coordinate that. So that's going to be the challenge over the next little while. I'm thrilled to have materials that give us a focus, because I feel like that helps the whole congregation grow spiritually and gives us fodder for our daily lives.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Thank you, Dorothy. Next on my screen is Rose.
Hello. I'm joining you late. I had a meeting that got canceled unexpectedly. So,
do you know what we're doing? Did you hear about our guided conversation?
I did. I did. So I decided to take the liberty of joining a little late today. And so, what I did miss is what this initial question or people are responding to.
You have a minute to respond to the challenges of the month of October, the challenges encountered in the logistics and the packet.
Oh, okay. Those are the least of my challenges. The appointment that just canceled on me was a child care applicant who came in and said, "Nah, I changed my mind." So I'm perpetually running under without staff, without volunteers within the church. I kind of am a do-it-all-yourself person, and I'm trying to make that change this year. That said, I haven't thoroughly reviewed the Courage packet yet to feel that I can respond to that question.
We're glad you're with us.
Thank you.
Yes, we're glad you're with us. Thank you, Rose. And next on my list is Carolyn, Portland, Maine. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. So I had some technical difficulties getting online. We have a slow internet connection, but I think I'm good. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so challenges for October. I think I popped back in when Leah was sharing about sort of the logistics around October 9th weekend. So I sort of have the struggle that I'm going to be away that week, and pretty much all of my volunteers are. So we're going to do a multi-age one-room schoolhouse pre-K through 5th grade. And I'm going to have 2 volunteers that are part of the RE volunteer roster for the fall leading it. So I'm going to need to find some other parents. So yeah, so there's some logistical challenges. Last year was the first year we did Soul Matters. So this year I had the great idea of leading once a month Discovery Day. Somebody in this group gave me that idea to call like basically a children's chapel on the first Sunday of the month, a Discovery Day. And now I'm running into the logistical question of, well, I have my volunteers volunteering for just 1 month at a time. And if I have, like, just even thinking about October, so like we do that for the first weekend, then I'm away, then everything's kind of mixed up for the second weekend. And then there's 3 more weekends. It's almost like the volunteers, and that's a 5 Sunday weekend. So they're, I don't know, like it's just how to keep them focused for those 3 Sundays that they're really going to plan. And then looking forward to November, we're going to have sort of a similar thing happen with Veterans Day weekend. And then we always do something different the weekend of Thanksgiving. So then my volunteers for November really only have to like plan for like basically like 1 session. Mm-hmm. So I just don't want them to feel out of touch with this approach. So I'm kind of nervous that like I'm not giving them enough to do. So I need to think really hard, and hopefully I'll get some ideas from you all about what to do with that Discovery Day to kind of like inspire the volunteers and motivate them.
Good challenge to bring. Thank you, Carolyn. Next on my screen is somebody who's muted and video blocked, and his name is Sarah. Would you like to join us, Sarah? There she goes.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Anyway, so I am new to Soul Matters, have never used it before this month. And my challenge, I would say, other than being new and just trying to, delve into the depths of resources in each lesson, is that I'm actually working for 2 congregations. I serve as a half-time DRE at 2 different congregations now this year for the first time. And so I'm doing this curriculum for kindergarten to 2nd grade in one congregation, and in another, and then a third to fifth in one, and a third to sixth in another. And just trying to, pick and choose what's appropriate for each group, and also, lining it up with the special nuances of each congregation that we're having each month. And I also do once a month a Super Sunday where I gather all the ages together, K to 12, because they're both fairly small congregations. And I do some social justice and fun. So obviously we'll do some kind of Halloween party in October. But that's a little bit different. There's a bit of a children's chapel to start with, and then we move into sort of a rotation through different stations and activities to the rest of the morning, and try to keep it as social justice focused as possible. So just trying to figure out how all the pieces fit together for everything. And again, since it's new, just trying to wrap my head and hands and heart around it all. So thank you for all your wisdom.
Thank you, Sarah, for joining us. And it's an evolving technology. We're very forgiving. Next on my screen is Julie Taylor.
Oh, hi. I was keeping myself muted and not showing myself because I shouldn't really even be here. We don't do Soul Matters, but I saw the opportunity to see what everybody's doing and to talk about what their process is like. So I thought I would just pop in and see what everybody is up to, and consider whether Soul Matters would be a good fit for my own congregation.
Great. Thanks, Julie. And let's see. Looks like Mary, who might have just joined us. Mary, you want to lurk, or would you like to say something?
I'll just say hello to everyone. I've been at the new DRE webinar, so that's why I'm joining you late. So I'll just listen in.
Man, you're going to be webinared out today. All right, so we've heard our challenges. Thank you for sharing those. Some are pretty substantial. Some are just people listening in. I invite us to, and I have a tickle in my throat, I invite us to about 15 seconds. That's what I'm going to give us, to just look at ourselves, sit in silence, and think about what you would say to these colleagues among us. And I'm going to start the timer. Okay, thank you. So the way we do this guided conversation now is that if you have an insight or a suggestion or a solution, you have 30 seconds to share. And I invite you to raise your hand if you're thinking about something, and then unmute yourself. And that way we'll know what each other is talking about. And then I have a few comments too. There goes Veronica and Ginger.
Hi. So something that really struck me as we were sitting in silence is that I really just wanted to have my heart open to everyone and what they're dealing with, and to just say to everyone that we always have challenges, and even if they don't, things don't turn out perfect, because when you do RE, you're working with controlled chaos all the time, and it's still going to work out, and it's still going to be great, and children are still going to get something really meaningful and wonderful out of it. And so I think one of the things that I also have to keep in mind is that your best is good enough, and that, doing the best you can is absolutely perfect.
Lovely. Thank you for those words.
I was going to follow up just a little bit with that, but you kind of said, we didn't talk before. We have the same kind of idea.
Great minds.
That September was our first month with Soul Matters. And I was really anxious about implementing and all the things that went along with it and how was I going to do it right. And my minister told me that what's more important than making sure that everything turns out exactly the way that I wanted it to was that that first and foremost, our congregation needs us to be. They don't need us to do, but we need to be first. And so I've just been intentionally holding the space, and what has filled it has just been really amazing. So I'm coming into this month of courage feeling a little bit better and more grounded, just because.
More courageous.
Yeah, more courageous, because I'm willing to let some of that go, except for I still have we're still missing RE people, volunteers too.
Yeah.
But
constant struggle.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was coming to, that we can be first.
Nice. Lovely. Thank you for those words from Moscow, Idaho. And Lenny has her hand up.
I heard a lot of folks talk about or mention multi-age classroom, which is something that I do and totally love. We do the spirit play model, which is kind of a Montessori-based thing. And we start in a circle. We do a story with props, and then the kids can kind of pick among several activities to do. And the great part, it's kindergarten through 6th grade. And the great part with having the mix is they pick what they do, but then there's a lot of, the older kids will help the younger kids with this thing, and the younger kids develop a relationship with those other kids, and it kind of changes the group dynamic, and it's wonderful to watch them connect in a way you don't anticipate, my 5-year-old to connect with this 10-year-old, but they do. And I'm happy to, if you ever want to email me, I'll blather on about it forever. So I'll put my email in the thing.
Yeah, put it in the chat box. Great. I'm not able to see the chat box, so please bring things to my attention. And Leah, you have some things.
Yeah, I thought of that multi-age grouping too. And I was really taken by some of the really experiential things that I saw in the packet for the little kids, like are you afraid of snakes? To have a snake. And also the clothespin, using clothespins is a little tricky, So, and then there was another one, I think it was for Sukkot, to make an outbuilding kind of thing. But I was thinking that you could adapt that to build a clubhouse kind of thing, or a dark place kind of thing. And I can see younger and older kids getting engaged in that, and really each person bringing to themselves like, oh, this is what I'm afraid of, or this is how now I'm not anymore because I'm growing. For the older kids, and it really would help them, kind of like you were saying, Lenny, with these relationship kind of things. Like, how empowering would it be for the older kids to talk about things that they're not scared of anymore with the younger kids? And I just wanted to throw another resource out there, the book Go Away, Big Green Monster. I don't know if that got into the hopper. Yes. Yes. I did that one time, and I kept it, where I used big, different colored pieces of cardboard, like big pieces, and I was able to cut out the shape so that each time you saw like the eyes and the squiggly ears and those added, and then I took them away, go away, go away. And the last line is, don't come back until I say so. So this like conquering of the fear too, and just like playing around with fear, I think would be really exciting.
Oh, that's great. And put it in the chat box so everyone can find that Big Green Monster book. Great. Other insights, reflections, solutions? I will jump in here, but please feel free to interrupt with a few reflections on my own about the lots of stuff happening and the trying to cram everything in with Columbus Day and the multi-generational services. this is a reflection from my 33 years of being a religious educator. And that is, I finally realized that we only have 36 hours total if you offer 1 hour Sunday school. 36 hours total for your whole program over the school year. That's how many contact hours the kids will get if they come every Sunday. And my own kids didn't come every Sunday, and I was the DRE forever. So you're looking at less than 36 hours contact time. And that's when I start saying to DREs to pull back a little, just like Ginger and Veronica said, not worry so much that it has to be perfect, because it's going to be only the links between some gems of things that the children will experience. These little links of the hour on Sunday morning, what if we looked at them as not the penultimate religious education experience, but the little links between some gems? And those gems might be the hour they spend at the potluck with all their families and friends. It might be a deliberate winter Chalaka camp that will last 3 days between Sunday to Sunday, Christmas to New Year's. It might be the summer day camp. But I suggest that instead of trying to cram everything in, we look at these bigger opportunities we might have for immersion experiences. And then this little hour thing on it is the gestalt of it. It's just the feeling of friendship and support and fun and courage with that big green monster. All right, I just want to offer that as a reflection. And also about the youth, when Bob was talking especially, the whole youth thing about incorporating thematic ministry into youth. You might want to look at that small group packet, because the questions that are in there are very appropriate for youth group, for senior high youth group. Not so appropriate to middle school. They're a little heady for middle school. But what is youth group but small group ministry? And to give them this packet and say, here's some questions that we're asking in small groups. You guys are a small group. What do you think? And as Bob said, it's never like, here, you have to do this. It's, what do you think? Or offering them those things that are in the packet just as a resource page. Say, would you like to do some of these? How can I help? The last thing I want to reflect on is the whole slice of pizza pie. So as you know, we have these 36 hours over an academic year, which is less than the school teachers spend with their kids for a week in a classroom. So just put it in perspective. So what 2 things do we want to have that they will not experience anywhere else? So some of you have heard this before. My spiel is service opportunities, leadership opportunities, that's what I call it, to do service. Silence together, so we don't need to teach them a whole lot, but to share silence in sacred space is something they can do in their faith community that they won't be doing at school. And then sunshine. So for me, that means connection with nature, the kinds of things that get them moving and outdoors, which they don't do in school necessarily. They might do in their sports, but we can do as a community together. The 3 S's, Katie's 3 S's, silence, service, and sunshine. I always add a 4th, which is my sneaky one, which is silliness, because the children come to us and their big reason for coming is making friends and having fun. That's what they'll say. So don't forget the silliness, because I think it was Kathleen, she was saying, we just want the kids to come. So I'm a curriculum writer. Throw out the curriculum and have a taco bar. Throw out the curriculum and play soccer, so that there's the silliness. Lenny, thank you. We want them to come first, and they won't come if we aren't fun. So there you go, from the words of the curriculum writer. And take into account that I've done it for 33 years, so I'm just sort of like out there. Only for thinking. All right. So, thank you. Now what we're going to do is have a minute. Oh, yes, Rose.
Just a quick question. What do you call the leaders, or the adults that work with your children? Do you refer to them as teachers or something else?
Good question. And there they go. The answers are popping up on the chat box. Great. There they are. Hope that helps, Rose. Great. So now we're going to spend a minute, each person gets a minute, to do the opportunities that have been presented to you by thinking about courage as a theme, by getting this packet, whatever things pop up. And Lenny, you ready to start? And I will time you. Oh.
Sorry, timers, they're hard. Okay, so the opportunities, right?
Yep.
All right. I feel like it's really, in our Spirit Play room, we're focusing on sources. So I feel like it's a great opportunity for me to bring out a lot of the heroes sources, the men and women that we look up to, like we're doing a Ruby Bridges story. We're doing, Guaratevi Saves the Trees. Just, people, heroes who have, used that courage to stand up to whatever. And also using it to tie into, we've got all the Halloween and the spooky stuff.
Right.
All that kind of cool things. So those kind of opportunities to kind of tie everything together I really like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Good. Thank you, Lenny. Next on my screen is Leah.
Thanks to Sarah, I have the link now for the newest resources for the teach-in. So
Great.
That's something going to be taken away. And then I also see in here in the packets that you listed.
That's not you. Sorry. Ah, stop.
I'll just share that my alarm went off on my phone because I was looking for it this Sunday. And where was it? Front row of the sanctuary.
Oh.
So I did a Kramer slide in there. And anyway, so so I see that there's a resource that you listed, Katie, Courage to Understand Racism. From Black Lives UU, Teaching Tolerance on Discovering My Identity. And I tell you, that is one, the identity piece is something that I have really avoided because I've gotten burned on that before when I've talked about doing it, because the parents, the white parents with kids who are of color, don't have confidence in me doing that and providing safe spaces for them. And I understand that, especially for the older kids. So, but I'm thinking that if I do it with the parents there and everybody's doing it together, then A, we could do some work around that, and B, just politically, people see that I can do this, or we can do it together kind of thing. Time for me. Yeah. Oh, and I also appreciate the meditations in the packet because I do that and I like more.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And thank you, Lenny, for being on top. She's going to raise her hand when it's time. Ginger and Veronica.
So this is opportunities that we see coming in the next month, right?
Right.
So the world just seems like such an overwhelming and scary place right now. And I think our children feel that as well as us. We had another shooting in a high school really close to here just last weekend. And so I think the opportunity to talk about courage and what can we do in an age-appropriate way for each and every class is going to be just really meaningful and important for our children right now and for our youth. I hope it empowers them and gives them some tangible ways to deal with the world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ginger and Veronica. Emmy.
I actually have to go. And I just wrote something in the chat box about thank you all for making this opportunity. This is an opportunity to be together and to share together, but I will definitely be back next month. So
Great.
bye.
Bye-bye, Emmy. And Corina.
Just being in this group right now, I'm realizing that I will welcome the opportunity to do planning for the entire month. Right now, I am kind of doing things, I sketch out for the month, but then as it comes closer to each Sunday, I communicate with my teachers on Wednesdays, and it's a little bit last minute, and I would prefer to have things, you know, planned for the month. So I'm looking forward to that part of being in this program and in this community.
Great. Thank you, Corina. And Kathleen.
I am really liking your silent service, sunshine, and silliness, and think that I will probably be using that as like the intro to the parents on what we're going to be doing for our second service religious education classes. So that will be really good. I also am considering, you know, the importance of this particular topic during these times with the Trump administration and the anxiety that is being created. And, you know, a lot of people don't think that kids know what's going on, but they do. They really do sense it. We also just had an earthquake here 2 nights ago here in actually right in my neighborhood, probably right underneath my building. And, you know, that also creates some anxiety because, you know, you never know when the next one's going to get hit or if it's going to be worse or if it's going to be like Mexico, you know. And so it's great to have this topic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kathleen. Next is Dorothy, and she's on the phone. Would you like us to come back to you? No, there she is. Great.
Yeah. I think the opportunity for us is really, because we're such a small group, is how do we really make these things speak to one another, and that what we're doing in the Sunday service is, you know, connected very closely to the few children that we have, and what we do in our meditation in small groups, so that, you know, they all are feeding on each other. I think that's really going to be the opportunity for me. And how do you let everybody know in the congregation that the topic this month is, you know, besides just putting it in the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Dorothy. And Rose.
There I am. So I can just respond quickly to what Dorothy just said, which is I like visual aids, so I put together a large bulletin board that really it's at the higher point, if you will. The bulletin board I put together really is meant to address the adults, so to inform the adults. So I use images that I collect. I use quotes from the packets, and I this month for the first time put up all the questions from the packet as well.
Nice. Good idea. Thank you, Rose. And Carolyn.
I like that idea a lot, Rose. Thanks for sharing that. I guess to me, like, really the opportunity, you know, in what folks have shared about the multi-age and just the idea of like making it really special. Like, something that I've learned is that, you know, that's what kids take away. That's what they remember. So they don't really remember the nuts and bolts, but they remember like when there was a big green scary monster at church, or like Katie, I've seen like you guys have like the water slide ceremony at your like former DRE church, and like that's, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I've been encouraging my guides to and my leaders to come up with. I say, like, if we need to like buy glue, get boxes, you know, like the crazier your idea, like the more I want you to do it. So to me, like, that's the motivation. And I think that's the direction I want to go in for the Discovery Day, is like, how fun can we make it and still make it about, you know, some piece of
Oops, you're
some piece of wisdom that's in the theme.
great. Thanks, Carolyn. Bob.
I am taking away from this a clarity about bringing this material to the youth. And I think I'm going to invite them to consider how courage might help them grapple with some of the social issues that they're wanting to discuss, and invite them to look at the materials and see how they might draw them into their conversations. It's nice that it's a nice full packet of all kinds of activities and possibilities, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens and how their eyes respond.
Uh-huh. Great. Thank you, Bob. And Sam, welcome.
Hello. Sorry, I'm late. I didn't pay attention if it was Eastern or Central or Mountain. I saw 1 o'clock and just, so I'm sorry that I probably missed a whole lot.
It's okay. We're glad you're with us for these last few minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And is it recorded?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Julie.
Sorry, still just lurking, really. But I loved hearing what everyone has had to say. And, you know, I've struggled this month with some of the parents who don't bring their kids, being very critical about my programming. And most of my programming actually is focused on getting the kids to really connect with one another so that eventually they'll go to youth cons and connect with other youth there and really feel like they belong here, you know. So I really appreciate what you said, Katie, about the 3 S's and the 4th one being silliness. That is very edifying for me. So thank you.
I will give you permission whenever you ask. Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So for me, again, I'm just trying to take it all in, and it's new. So I think as a perfectionist, it's very hard for me to, you know, not feel like I have my hands and head wrapped around everything just yet. And I think having that patience and that support and knowing that, you know, those 36 hours, if that, really need to be about community and about connection and whatever they're going to remember as those fun things, as Carolyn had said, you know, really just new and creative and sparking their imaginations, and that that's sort of what's an important takeaway for them. And, you know, whether I choose, you know, A, B, or C activity, ultimately, as long as they're experiencing those moments of the sacred together and those silent times, especially in the mix of, you know, I live in the Northeast and everybody's always running, and just having that time to just be quiet. Those meditations are really important. I've definitely implemented that so far, and we'll do the same moving forward, because I think they don't get any of that during their week, and these are the spaces where we can give them some of those really beautiful moments together. So thank you, and everyone.
Lovely, Sarah. I'm going to respect the time, even though we could talk forever. So I'll close with the chalice lighting that I do, chalice extinguishing that I do. I do it like the Sabbath, where you gather the warmth of love and the light of truth and the energy of action back into our hearts. Carry it forward into the dawning day. I'm going to stop the recording now, but we can stay on and chat some more for whoever